The room smelled of metal, oil, and fear. Hundreds of alien eyes glowed in the dark, staring at the stage where a single human girl stood barefoot on a steel platform. A beam of white light fell over her thin body, showing bruises and chains. She didn't understand the alien words echoing around her, but she could feel what they meant. She was being sold. The announcer, a tall creature with blue skin and too many teeth, shouted prices. His voice was cold and cruel. Around him, buyers lifted glowing tokens to bid higher. Mira stood still, trembling. She didn't know how long she had been in the cages. Days, weeks? She only remembered fire. Her home, her colony, had burned. People screamed as ships in the sky rained light and death, then darkness, then the cage. Now she was here, in a place where humans were nothing but food or property. A metal arm grabbed her chin, turning her face toward the crowd. The announcer hissed something about clean skin, good weight. A red hologram appeared in the air. Human female, 48 kilos. Mira wanted to cry, but her tears had long dried out. Suddenly, a voice came from the back of the hall. "I'll take her." The crowd went silent. The announcer froze, his eyes narrowing. "Payment?" he asked sharply, switching to a trade language. From the shadows, a tall figure stepped forward. His coat was long and torn, covered in dust. His face was hidden under a metal mask, and his hands, scarred and human, glowed faintly as he placed a black credit chip on the table. The announcer blinked, scanned the chip, and gasped. "That is, a full cargo ship's worth of credits." The masked man spoke softly. "She's mine." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some aliens hissed in anger. Others looked confused. Humans almost never came here, and if they did, they came as slaves, not buyers. Two guards released Mira from her chains. She fell to her knees, too weak to stand. The man in the mask stepped closer and reached out his hand. "Get up," he said in a quiet voice. "You're safe now." She looked at him, not believing. His eyes, dark and tired, looked human. Really human. The first human face she'd seen since her colony burned. He wrapped a worn blanket around her shoulders and guided her out of the hall. As they passed through the corridors, alien eyes followed them with hate and hunger. But no one stopped him. The man walked like someone who had nothing left to fear. Outside, the night air bit her skin. Huge towers rose into the red sky, filled with lights and smoke. Ships came and went, engines roaring. The man led her to a small craft hidden behind old cargo containers. Mira hesitated. Who are you?" she asked in a shaking voice. He didn't answer right away. He just opened the hatch and said, "Get in." Inside, the ship was small but clean. The metal walls hummed softly. There were marks of long travel, scratched panels, old tools, a broken picture frame floating near the control seat. The man placed her in a chair and handed her a cup of warm liquid. "Drink," he said. She stared at him, clutching the cup. "You're human," she whispered. He nodded. "Name's Cole." She felt her chest tighten. Why did you buy me?" He looked away, eyes heavy with something she didn't understand. "Because no one else would treat you like a person." Mira didn't reply. Her voice was lost somewhere deep inside her. Cole started the ship and the engines came alive with a low hum. Outside, the city lights faded as they lifted into the smoky red sky. The planet grew smaller, turning into a glowing dot. Through the window, Mira saw endless stars. She pressed her hand to the glass, breathing slowly. Freedom felt unreal, like a dream too fragile to touch. Cole sat quietly at the controls, staring ahead. His voice was almost a whisper. "They'll come after us. The syndicate doesn't like losing their property." Mira turned to him. "Then why risk it?" He didn't answer. Only the stars reflected in his eyes as he said, "Because once I failed to save someone." "Not again." Silence filled the cabin. The ship drifted into the dark, carrying two lonely humans in a galaxy that had forgotten what mercy meant. Mira curled up under the blanket, her body still shaking but her heart slowly finding a beat again. For the first time in weeks, she didn't feel like meat. Cole adjusted the controls, glancing at her reflection in the glass. He didn't say it aloud, but in his mind, he whispered the words that would one day change everything. "I'll take you home." And far behind them in the alien market, the auctioneer looked at the empty platform and growled, "Find them. The syndicate will not forgive this." The ship drifted through endless darkness. Only the stars moved outside the window, blinking softly like tiny fires in the distance. Inside, everything was silent except for the low hum of the engine. Mira sat on the small bunk, knees pulled to her chest, eyes staring at nothing. She still couldn't believe she wasn't in a cage anymore. The smell of metal and oil followed her everywhere. It reminded her of the auction, of the chains, of the hands that had pushed her onto the scale. But here no one touched her. No one shouted. No one called her a number. Cole sat in the pilot's chair, typing on a cracked screen. He looked calm, but there was a sadness around him. A heavy kind of quiet that filled the air like smoke. Every few minutes he would glance over his shoulder to make sure she was still there, still breathing. "Are you hungry?" he asked without turning. Mira didn't answer. She didn't know if it was safe to speak. On the slave ship, talking meant punishment. Cole sighed, stood up, and walked to a small storage locker. He pulled out a silver pack, tore it open, and handed it to her. "It's protein gel. Doesn't taste good, but it'll keep you alive." Her hands shook as she took it. She sniffed it, then looked at him suspiciously. "It's not poison," he said gently. "I wouldn't buy you just to kill you." That made her heart jump. "Then why?" she whispered. "Why buy me at all?" Cole didn't answer right away. He walked back to the pilot's seat and stared at the stars again. "Because no one else would. Because you didn't deserve to die there," Mira blinked. "But you paid so much. Credits don't matter," he said. "Not anymore." She stared at his back. He spoke like a man who had lost everything and didn't care if he lost more. After a while, the ship beeped softly. Cole tapped a few keys and a glowing blue field appeared on the screen. "We'll be at my base soon," he said. "A small rock in the middle of nowhere. You'll be safe there." Safe? The word felt strange on her tongue. She had forgotten what it meant. Cole didn't notice her doubt. He was too busy staring at the map, lost in thought. When they landed, the ship touched down with a soft hiss. Through the window, Mira saw gray dust and dark cliffs. The base was small, just metal walls and blinking lights, but it was quiet. Peaceful. No crowds, no cages, no shouting. Cole opened the hatch, letting in cold air. "Come on," he said. "You can walk around." "No one's here but me." She hesitated before stepping outside. The air smelled clean, strange, almost pure. The ground crunched under her bare feet. Inside the base, everything was simple. Tools, a few chairs, a bed that looked untouched. There was only one photo on the wall. A picture of 3 humans smiling on a ship deck. Cole was one of them. The other 2 were gone. Mira touched the photo softly. "They were your crew?" He nodded slowly. "They were my family. What happened to them?" He looked at the floor. "Aliens raided our route. I was the only one left." Silence again. Only the hum of the air system filled the room. That night, Cole gave her clean clothes and a small room to sleep in. The bed felt strange, soft and warm. Mira lay down, staring at the ceiling. She wanted to sleep, but her mind wouldn't stop. She thought about the man who had bought her not for flesh or labor, but for something she didn't understand. In the next room, Cole sat at his desk, listening to old radio signals. Sometimes he thought he heard voices, static whispers from lost humans somewhere out in space. But it was always just noise. He took off his metal mask and rubbed his face. Scars lined his jaw, deep and rough. His eyes were tired, filled with ghosts. He whispered to himself, "You did the right thing, Cole. You couldn't save the last one. But maybe this time." The lights flickered for a second. A small red symbol appeared on the computer screen, an alert. Someone was scanning the system from orbit. Cole's heart tightened. He quickly shut the monitor and turned off the lights. "They found us," he muttered. In her room, Mira stirred but didn't wake. She dreamed of the auction again, of being weighed like an animal. But this time the voice that called her wasn't cruel. It was soft, human, and lonely. The next morning, when she opened her eyes, Cole was standing at the doorway. His face looked pale, his eyes sharp. "We need to move," he said. "Now, why?" He looked at the sky through the glass ceiling. Tiny dots of red light shimmered above the cliffs. Ships. "The syndicate's coming," he said. "They want you back." Mira froze, her throat dry. Cole grabbed his gear and looked at her with something fierce in his eyes. Not fear, but promise. "They'll have to go through me first." The alarms began as a soft hum, then grew louder, angry red lights flashing through the small base. Cole grabbed his jacket and weapons in one quick motion. His calm voice cut through the panic. "Mira, to the ship. Now." She stumbled out of her room, her heart racing. What's happening? They found us, he said. The syndicate doesn't forget stolen property. She flinched at the word property, but there was no time to think. Outside, engines roared in the distance, alien ships circling like wolves. Cole opened a hidden floor panel, pulling out a black case. Inside were old weapons, human-made, scratched, and battle-worn. Haven't used these in years, he muttered. Let's see if they still bite. Mira followed him to the ship, still barefoot, still frightened. She wanted to ask questions, but the way he moved, the focus in his eyes told her he had done this before. When the engines roared to life, the base trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling as the small ship lifted off the ground. Through the window, Mira saw the syndicate hunters, sleek black crafts with glowing red wings, approaching fast. Cole's hands flew across the controls. "Hold on," he said. "It's going to be rough." The ship spun upward, dodging plasma fire. The sky turned white and blue with light bursts. One blast hit near their tail, throwing them sideways. Mira screamed as alarms wailed. "Keep low," Cole shouted. "They're locking missiles." Mira's instincts kicked in. She grabbed a handle and looked at the blinking red lights on the side screen. "Those are target markers," she yelled. "Turn left 20 degrees." Cole obeyed without question. The missile streaked past, missing them by inches. He gave a quick glance her way. "Good eyes." "I used to work on scanners, back home," she said softly. He smiled faintly. "Then we might just make it." They broke through the clouds, leaving the gray planet behind. The stars filled the glass again. But the danger wasn't over. One syndicate ship followed, refusing to fall back. Cole cursed under his breath. Persistent bastards. He switched to manual control. "I'll lose them near the debris field." As the ship dove into the dark, Mira saw twisted wrecks of old war machines drifting silently. Ships from both humans and aliens, long dead, floated like ghosts. "Where are we?" she whispered. Cole's voice grew quieter. "A graveyard. From the old war." She looked at him. "You fought in it?" He hesitated, then nodded. "I fought. I survived. That's all." Something in his voice carried years of pain. She wanted to ask more, but before she could, the console beeped again. A message appeared in broken text, faint, flickering. Cole Varen, classified record accessed. Mira frowned. "What's that?" He froze. "It's nothing." But she had already touched the screen. It opened a file filled with photos. Young Cole wearing a soldier's uniform standing beside two other humans. They were smiling. One of them, a woman, had the same calm eyes as Mira. Mira looked at him slowly. She looks like me." Cole shut off the screen. "Don't," he said sharply. His voice cracked, filled with something between anger and sorrow. "Don't look at that." She stepped back. "Who was she?" He closed his eyes. "My partner, my last crew member. I couldn't save her." The ship's lights flickered. Outside, a piece of wreckage drifted by, a broken human flag painted on rusted metal. Cole took a deep breath. "We were running a rescue mission years ago. The syndicate ambushed us. Everyone died except me. I saw her ship burn. I couldn't reach her." He stared into the stars. "I thought saving you might balance it. Maybe. It would make up for what I failed to do." Mira didn't know what to say. The anger faded from his voice, replaced by quiet exhaustion. Suddenly, the console beeped again. Another alert. The syndicate ship had entered the debris field. "They're still on us," Cole said, gripping the controls. "Can't shake them." "Then fight," Mira said. Her voice was steady now. "You saved me. Let me help you." He turned to her, surprised. Then he nodded once. "All right. See that lever? Pull it when I say." The hunter ship fired again, bright plasma bolts cutting through the dark. Cole dodged too, but one hit the side. The cabin shook violently. Sparks flew. "Now!" he shouted. Mira pulled the lever. A pulse of blue light shot out from their ship. For a second, everything went still. Then the Syndicate craft's engine exploded, sending it spinning into the wreckage. They watched in silence as the flames faded among the stars. Cole exhaled, leaning back. Nice timing. Mira smiled faintly, for the first time since she was captured. Guess we both have something to live for now. Cole didn't reply, but his eyes softened. He turned the ship toward a patch of stars where a faint beacon blinked in the distance. "Where are we going?" she asked. He looked ahead, his voice low. "To an old friend, someone who might still remember what being human means." As the ship disappeared into the black, behind them the wreckage of the Syndicate ship drifted quietly, its last transmission echoing into the void. Target not terminated. Continue pursuit. And somewhere, far away, the Syndicate commander smiled. They had found his name. They had found Cole Varen. Space was silent, but silence never meant safety. Cole's ship drifted quietly between shattered moons and metal bones of long-dead war machines. Every blinking star outside looked peaceful, until you remembered that death floated between them. Mira sat in the co-pilot seat, wrapped in a gray blanket. The glow of the dashboard lights touched her tired face. She had started to trust him, but now she saw something new in Cole's eyes. Not fear, not anger. Something colder. He was preparing to kill again. "They'll send more," he said softly, eyes fixed on the radar. "The Syndicate never quits once they mark you." Mira looked down at the screen. "How many?" 3 hunter ships, maybe 4. Her breath caught. "We can't fight that." He almost smiled, a bitter ghost of humor. "I didn't say fight. I said run smart." He flipped a switch, and the lights dimmed. The engines slowed to a whisper. The ship became a shadow among drifting wrecks. Mira leaned closer. "You've done this before." "Too many times," he murmured. "Back when I was one of them." She froze. "One of them?" Cole didn't answer. He reached for the control panel, fingers tracing symbols on a hidden button. For a second his face reflected in the glass, scarred, tired, and full of memories she couldn't read. The ship jolted as a flare of blue light burst outside. The radar lit up like fireworks. "They found us," Cole said. He pushed the throttle. The engines screamed. The small ship shot through the debris field like a silver dart, weaving between twisted metal. Bolts of red plasma chased them. Mira felt the heat through the hull. One blast hit the rear shield. The floor shook, throwing her forward. Cole grabbed her arm, steadying her. "Hold tight," he shouted. "We'll lose them in the fog ring." She didn't know what that meant until they burst into a wall of glowing dust, gas clouds thick enough to hide entire planets. The view outside turned hazy and bright like diving into a sea of fireflies. Inside the fog, sensors went blind. The hunter ships followed but lost their radar lock. Cole switched off every system. "Don't move," he whispered. "Even sound travels in plasma clouds." The ship drifted silently. Mira's heart pounded. She could hear her own breathing, too loud. Minutes passed. Then a shadow passed outside, massive and slow. Through the glowing fog, they saw the sharp outline of an alien hunter ship. It glided close, scanning with red beams. Cole held his breath. Mira whispered, "They'll see us." "Not if we're ghosts," he said softly. The ship drifted so close that its light brushed across the window. For 1 second, Mira thought it saw her. She closed her eyes. Then, silence. The light moved away. The shadow faded. Cole exhaled slowly. "We're clear. For now." But Mira could see the tension still gripping his shoulders. "You said you were one of them," she said. "What did you mean?" Cole didn't look at her. His eyes were on the stars again. "After the war, I had nothing left. No crew, no home. The Syndicate offered money to humans who could hunt their own kind. I said yes." Mira's eyes widened. "You hunted humans?" "For a time," he said quietly. "Until I realized what I'd become." She didn't speak. The silence between them was heavier than the fog outside. Cole looked down at his hands. I tried to quit, but the syndicate doesn't let people leave. So I ran. Been running ever since. Mira studied his face. There was no pride there. Only guilt. You saved me, she said softly. That has to mean something. He met her eyes for the first time since the chase began. It means I'm trying. Before she could answer, the radar blinked again. A new signal. One of the hunters had found them, closer than before. Cole's expression hardened. No more hiding. He flipped the power back on. Lights blazed to life and the ship roared forward. Strap in. The hunter ship appeared through the fog, sleek, black, and deadly. Cole aimed straight for it. What are you doing? Mira cried. Finishing this. The two ships collided in a deadly chase, spinning through clouds of light. Plasma fire burned across the void. Cole dodged, rolled, then shot back. His aim was sharp, too sharp for someone who claimed he'd left war behind. One hit struck the hunter's wing. It spun out, crashing into a nearby wreck. The explosion lit the fog like dawn. Mira stared at him. You knew exactly how to fight them. He didn't look proud, just tired. Because I trained them. The words hung in the air like poison. She whispered, then they'll know every move you make. He nodded slowly. That's why we have to stop running. Stop running. Cole turned toward the starlit window. Far away, a small blue planet glimmered faintly. There's a place where the syndicate won't follow. A world they burned, then forgot. Humans once called it Haven. Mira frowned. You think it's real? I know it is, he said. It's where I'm taking you. Outside, the fog began to clear, revealing the broken skeletons of ships in the endless dark beyond. Cole's voice dropped to a whisper. I made a promise once. I couldn't keep it. But this time, I will. Mira didn't reply. She just looked at him, the lonely human who once hunted his own kind, and for the first time, she saw not a killer, but a man trying to save what little was left of his soul. Far behind them, the last hunter ship powered up its engines. It sent one message to the Syndicate command. Target heading for the Haven sector. Pursuit authorized. And the chase began again. The stars stretched like white scars across the black sky. Cole's ship floated through them, silent, scarred, but still moving. For hours, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of the engines and the slow rhythm of Mira's breathing. She sat near the window, her eyes following the streaks of starlight. Cole was at the controls, lost in thought, his face pale from exhaustion. Something had changed since the last fight. The silence between them was no longer peaceful. It was heavy, filled with questions neither dared to ask. Finally, Mira broke it. You said the Syndicate doesn't forget. They don't. Then why buy me? Why risk all this? He hesitated, then said, because you deserved more than a number on a scale. But his eyes betrayed something else. Something he wasn't saying. Mira looked away, her fingers tracing the edge of the console. The screen flickered softly. Out of habit, she pressed a few keys. She had worked with machines before the war. Curiosity was something she couldn't silence. A small file blinked on the screen, locked, hidden, and marked with her name. Subject, Mira Ryland. Status, acquired. Buyer, Cole Varon. Purpose, delivery confirmed. Her heart froze. The words felt like knives. What is this? She whispered. Cole turned sharply. Don't touch that. She looked at him, eyes wide. What does it mean? Delivery confirmed? You bought me. For them? He stepped closer, voice low but tense. It's not what you think. Then explain, she shouted. Explain before I think you're just another one of them. The ship's lights flickered with her anger. Cole rubbed his face, breathing hard. That file, it's old. When I worked for the Syndicate, I created fake purchase records to get humans out. It was the only way. They thought I was delivering slaves. I was freeing them. Mira didn't answer. She wanted to believe him, but her body shook. You lied to them, she said softly. And to me. He nodded, guilt darkening his voice. Yes, but I lied to keep you alive. Her throat tightened. And how many others? Cole's eyes dropped. Dozens, maybe more. Most didn't make it. Silence. The kind that makes the air feel cold. Mira turned away, staring out the window. You saved me, Cole, but I don't even know who you really are. He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, rusted pendant. Inside was a holographic picture of a woman with calm eyes and brown hair, the one Mira had seen in his old file. She was the first human I tried to save, he said quietly. Her name was Lyra. She was someone I couldn't forget. What happened to her? She didn't make it out. The syndicate caught us. I escaped. She didn't. Mira looked at him, her anger fading into something sadder. And now you're trying to make it right? He nodded once. You remind me of her. Not in how you look, but how you don't give up. Before she could reply, the radar screamed. A red icon appeared. Cole snapped back to the controls. They're here. Mira leaned over the screen. How did they find us again? Because I used an old syndicate route, he said grimly. I should have known they'd track it. Outside, bright lights flashed through the dark. Hunter ships surrounded them, 3 this time, closing in fast. Cole gritted his teeth. No way to outrun them. Mira's voice trembled. Then what do we do? He stared at the navigation map, eyes scanning quickly. There's a gas moon nearby. Thick storms. We can hide, but we'll lose power for a while, she swallowed. And if we don't make it? He smiled faintly. Then I'll make sure they only get me. Before she could stop him, he locked the ship's autopilot and pulled out a weapon. Stay in your seat, he said. If they board, you run. Don't argue. But Mira wasn't going to just sit and wait to die. She stood beside him, her voice steady. You said you were done running. So stop running. For a long moment he just looked at her. Then slowly he lowered the gun. You sound like her, he said softly. The first blast hit the hull. The ship spun violently, alarms wailing. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Mira screamed, grabbing the side of the console. They're firing again. Cole slammed the thrusters, diving into the storm below. Lightning exploded around them, waves of blue and white light twisting through clouds. The ship rattled like it would break apart. Shields at 20%, Mira shouted. Hold together, baby, Cole muttered, tapping the console. Just a little more. Through the storm, they saw the hunter ships follow, glowing like monsters in a sea of light. Cole hit a final switch, emergency flare eject. A pulse of white plasma burst from the rear, blinding their pursuers. The hunters lost lock. 2 collided in the storm, exploding in flashes of silver fire. The third turned back. When silence returned, only Cole's ship drifted through the glowing clouds, battered, smoking, but alive. Mira leaned back, shaking. We did it. Cole looked at her with tired eyes. No, we bought time. That's all. He turned off the alarms. Once we land, I'll tell you everything. No more secrets. Mira looked at him for a long time. You better, she said. Because if you lie again, I'll find out. Cole gave a tired smile. Good. I'd expect nothing less. Outside, lightning flickered across the sky, shaping strange shadows in the clouds, one of them almost human. Neither of them noticed. Far above, in the black between stars, a transmission left the wreckage of the fallen hunters. Colvaren confirmed alive, preparing new orders. And deep within the syndicate, someone whispered, The buyer has turned. Bring him in. The gas moon was dying. Storms of light rolled across its surface, twisting into rivers of lightning that tore through the sky. Cole's ship limped through the clouds, smoke trailing behind it like a wound that refused to heal. Inside, the lights flickered, the walls groaned, and every sound felt like a warning. Mira stood beside Cole, gripping the seat so tightly her knuckles turned white. Are we going to crash? She asked, her voice shaking. Cole's hands moved across the controls, steady but strained. Not if I can help it. The ship spun, rattled, and finally slowed as it entered a calmer layer of cloud. Outside, flashes of green lightning danced in silence. Mira looked at the stars through the mist, her breath fogging the window. It's beautiful, she whispered. Cole nodded faintly. Storms usually are, until they swallow you. He guided the ship toward a small crater, a rare pocket of land on the stormy moon. The landing was rough. Metal screeched as the ship hit the ground. When it finally stopped, neither of them spoke for a while. The silence was almost peaceful. Mira took a deep breath. We're alive. Cole leaned back in his seat. For now. They sat there for a long moment, listening to the engine cool down. The air smelled like burnt wires and ozone. Finally, Mira broke the silence. You said you'd tell me everything. Cole looked at her, tired but calm. I did. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small data cube, the same kind used for syndicate files. This is everything I have on you. And on me. He handed it to her. The cube glowed softly in her palm. Mira hesitated before activating it. A hologram flickered above it. Images of human colonies, burned cities, destroyed ships. Then a file appeared with her name. Subject Mira Rylan. Human colony. Vesta 9. Captured after orbital strike. Status, sold for food processing. Mira's chest tightened. Her voice broke. That's my home. Cole looked away. I know, she turned to him, her eyes wet. You knew all this time? I knew the syndicate had raided your world. I didn't know you were still alive until I saw your name on the auction list. Why me? She whispered. There were thousands of humans sold. Why risk everything for one? He hesitated. Then his voice dropped to a whisper. Because when I saw your file, I saw something else. Your genetic tag, my tag? He nodded slowly. Every human who was captured had one. Yours was from an older database, the same one the rebellion used to mark survivors. Her eyes widened. You mean my parents? Cole nodded. Your father was one of the leaders who helped evacuate the last free humans. They never found him or the planet they escaped to. The coordinates were lost. But your tag might be the key. Mira's breath caught. So, there is still a home? Maybe, Cole said. But the syndicate would kill to find it first. That's why we have to get there before they do. For the first time since her capture, hope flickered in her chest. Tiny, fragile, but real. She smiled faintly. Then let's find it. Cole looked at her, something like pride softening his tired eyes. You sound like a soldier. I sound like someone who wants to live, she said. He chuckled. Same thing sometimes, but the moment of calm didn't last. The console beeped, faint and slow. Cole's smile faded. What is it? Mira asked. He stared at the screen. Tracker signal. They're still following us, her heart sank. How? We destroyed their ships. They sent new ones, Cole said grimly. They never stop. He stood up, walking to the back of the ship. We'll have to leave the ship. They can trace the core. We'll travel by foot until I can mask the signal. Mira followed, grabbing her jacket. Where will we go? There's an old bunker from the war, he said. A few clicks north. Might still have supplies. They stepped outside into the storm. The air was thick and electric. The ground glowed faintly beneath their boots. Lightning flashed above, turning the sky green and blue. They walked in silence for a while. Then Mira said softly, Cole, do you ever think about Earth? He smiled faintly. Every day. But the Earth I remember doesn't exist anymore. Just like the man I used to be. She looked at him carefully. You're not the monster they think you are. He shook his head. Maybe not. But I did what monsters do. And sometimes that's worse. Mira didn't reply. She just walked beside him through the glowing fog, their shadows stretching long against the rocks. When they finally reached the bunker, it was quiet. Too quiet. Cole scanned the area, gun raised. The door creaked open. Inside, dust floated in the air like ghosts. Old human markings lined the walls. Faded words. We will return home. Mira touched them with trembling fingers. They were here, Cole nodded. Yeah, but not anymore. He walked deeper inside, checking each room. In the last one, he found something, a small broken transmitter. He turned it over in his hands. It's still warm, he said softly. Mira frowned. That means someone was here recently. Before Cole could answer, the transmitter beeped once. Then a voice came through the static. Cole Varen, Mira Rylan, you shouldn't have come here. Mira's eyes widened. Who is that? Cole's face went pale. The voice was human, but it wasn't friendly. The voice on the radio was cold, calm, and unmistakably human. Cole froze. The old transmitter in his hands buzzed again, light flickering weakly. Cole Varen, the voice said. You're hard to find. Harder to forget. Mira looked at Cole, fear tightening in her chest. Who is that? He didn't answer. His eyes darkened like storm clouds. Someone I used to know, he muttered. The voice continued, smooth but cruel. You took something from us, Cole. The syndicate wants you dead, but me? I just want to see your face when you realize there's no home left to run to. Then the signal went dead. The bunker fell silent except for the faint hum of broken lights. Mira's heart pounded. "He's human," she said softly. "Why would a human work with them?" Cole's jaw tightened. "Because I trained him to." He walked to the door, checking his weapon. The glow of the storm outside spilled through the cracks, painting his face in blue and gold. "They're close. We can't stay." Mira followed him into the night, her voice trembling. "Cole, who was that?" "His name's Drax," he said. "He was my second in command back when I worked for the syndicate. He believed in what they were doing. He believed humans didn't deserve freedom anymore." Mira shook her head. "That's insane. He used to say freedom made us weak, that the strong had to eat the weak to survive. He called it balance." The storm roared above them. Lightning lit up the horizon, and there, through the glowing clouds, Mira saw dark shapes descending from the sky. "They found us," she whispered. Cole nodded grimly. "Then this ends tonight." They ran toward the edge of a canyon where ancient human ships had crashed long ago. The wrecks jutted from the rock like rusted bones. Cole stopped beside one, pressing his hand against its old insignia. "United Human Fleet." "This ship used to belong to the Resistance," he said. "It might still have a power core buried inside." Mira looked around. "You're going to fight them, aren't you?" Cole smiled faintly. "I'm going to buy you time." She stepped closer. "No. You're not doing this alone again." He turned toward her, his face soft for the first time in days. "Mira, listen to me. You carry the coordinates to Haven in your genetic tag. You're the key to what's left of humanity. If they catch you, they'll find every survivor hiding out there." Her voice broke. "But what about you?" He reached up, brushing dust from her cheek with a trembling hand. "I stopped fighting for myself a long time ago." She grabbed his wrist, her voice fierce. "You said you'd take me home." He looked at her, really looked, and something changed in his eyes. "I will," he said softly. "Just not the way you think." The roar of engines filled the air. 3 hunter ships cut through the storm, red lights flashing. Cole ran to the wreck, pulling open a hatch. Inside, he found what he was looking for, a half-buried escape pod. He wiped dust from the glass and hit the power switch. The pod hummed weakly, lights flickering to life. He turned to Mira. "Get in." "No," she cried. "I'm not leaving you." He smiled sadly. "You are. Because if you stay, we both die. But if you go, maybe the human race doesn't." Tears filled her eyes. "Cole, please." He leaned forward, resting his forehead against hers. His voice was low and rough. "I made a promise once. I couldn't save her, but I can save you." Before she could protest, he gently pushed her into the pod. The door sealed shut with a soft hiss. Through the glass, Mira pounded her fists. "Cole, don't do this!" He pressed his hand against the glass, his eyes calm now. "You'll find Haven, you'll find them. And when you do, tell them humanity isn't gone yet." Outside, the hunters fired. The ground shook. Cole ran to the wreck's power core, connecting wires with shaking hands. The ship groaned as ancient energy surged through its circuits. Above, Mira's pod launched skyward, vanishing into the clouds. Cole smiled faintly as he watched it rise. "I told you I'd take you home." Then he looked at the sky, at the ships closing in. His voice was quiet. "For every life we lost, this one's for you, Lyra." He hit the final switch. The wreck exploded in a brilliant wave of blue fire. The blast swallowed the hunters, the canyon, the storm itself. For a moment, the dying moon looked alive again, glowing with light born of sacrifice. Hours later, Mira's pod drifted through calm space. She opened her eyes to see a new world below, a green planet shining like an emerald in the dark. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "You kept your promise," she whispered, as she stepped out onto the soft soil. Wind brushing her hair, she looked up at the sky. A single burning star streaked across it, fading slowly. She smiled through her tears. "I'll make it home, Cole, for both of us." She turned toward the forest. A symbol was carved into a tree, a human handprint fresh and warm. Her breath caught. She wasn't alone.